Okay, we're going to start our match reviews for this evening. This match review comes to us from Ashy Slashy, who, despite their name, well, of course, there's not an equivocal killer, Ash Williams, homie came as a single chapter, as a paragraph as a survivor. But they have over 1,000 hours in the game of Dead by Daylight, so that's about the time I expect you know most of your fundamentals, so you should be able to have relatively quick chases, have generally good macro sense, that sort of thing. You're playing the Chucky, which was a character that used to be really strong. Most people consider them an A-tier character, and the recent change really slowed down their dash, which has kind of created a weird issue now where, like, he was entirely chase focused because his whole deal was like, okay, well, I'm 110 and a melee killer, so I make up for the fact that I can't get around the map very well by having quick chases. But now he doesn't have a super excellent chase power on top of not having map mobility. So he's just kind of in this weird in-between zone of just being kind of all right. There's obviously the Chucky mains can make him shine a bit, but realistically, you're looking at like a C, low B in like the hands of somebody who mains and knows all the ins and outs of the character. Not really a pick up and play kind of character, and very far from it at this point, which is very unfortunate considering how they used to be. You are also on Eyrie of Crows, which is also not going to do you any favors whatsoever, because Eyrie of Crows is honestly one of the worst maps in the game for killer, probably the worst map in the game for killer. I mean, just looking straight ahead, you have pallet into main building window, and you have another pallet that can also go into the main building window, but it can also go into this pallet. It's just like, who designed this map? Who just said, what could the survivors use to loop the killer? And somebody went, everything. Yes, all of it. So yeah, that is definitely working against you, and that may be affecting the game in a way that is ultimately not your fault, but we will see. Let's go ahead and take a look at the match. First off, before we look at the match, before I get too ahead of myself, we need to take a look at your add-ons and your poiks. Usually that's the thing I say there, but I done Dimmadar and goofed. But that's okay. Sometimes we goof. Sometimes we do be goofing. All right, so you are using 2 Brown add-ons, which is already kind of alarming. You're using the Good Guy box, which reduces the cooldown of successful slice and dice attacks by 93%. And you are also using the Strobe Light, which reduces your terrors by 8 meters, so kind of a stealthy add-on. These add-ons are okay, but that is just it. They're just okay. Realistically, you should be using something like Jump Rope, which extends the duration of your slice and dice, something like Straight Razor, another great example. Just gives you Mangle and Hemorrhage on your slice and dice attacks. There's also the Power Drill, which reduces the cooldown of your Hidey Ho mode by 10% after a successful slice and dice attack. There's plenty of options here, but I don't think 2 Browns is something you're going to run and get consistent success out of. I don't know if this was Chaos Shuffle or what. I don't think you marked this as a Chaos Shuffle game. Let's see. It'll do the animation at the beginning. No, this is not Chaos Shuffle, because Chaos Shuffle had it to where the animation when you come in would show all the perks getting revealed. So this is just a build you're running normally. I'm gonna say this as nicely as I can. I am not a fan of this build almost at all. Yeah, there's not, besides Gift of Pain, there's nothing I'm really like a huge fan of on this build. The idea of already being 110 and then completely cutting yourself off by using Rapid is questionable. Maybe it's just fun, then why sending in for a match review? People say that all the time, and it's like, I don't get it. Like, you send in a match review, and then you'll say, oh, I was playing for fun, or I was running a fun build. I wasn't really trying. Well, it's like sending in a paper to get graded and going, oh, but ignore that section where I did really bad on that one question. Don't grade that part. It's like, do you want me to grade it or not? Yeah. I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to comment on it. Hysteria also, like, you are a character, which I understand, Chucky's undetectable is not true stealth because he giggles so much, so it's easy for you to tell where he is. But, like, I don't think slapping Hysteria on is like the way. Hysteria in general is not that great of a perk on top of this like kind of angle that you're coming from. I can kind of see Zanshin, because Zanshin used to be something that Chucky mains that used to run as like a hee hee ha ha because of scampering. But even then, that's only approaching something I would consider running, and that's not even something I would run. I would run none of those 3 perks. And you only have 1 slowdown, and it's only an okay slowdown. Like, Gift of Pain really, despite how good it is, it's really like a companion slowdown to something else. Like, you run it in tandem with like Jagged Compass or Pain Res. You run it together with something else. Running Gift of Pain raw is very, very risky, especially with how good healing on Survivor is, especially with like Resurgence on Jill. So yeah, I'm kind of seeing an issue already, is that like you're playing a underwhelming killer on one of the strongest Survivor maps in the game with underwhelming perks and add-ons. So I can already see the image being painted here. I also break this door now. I used to not break this door, but now I do. It just makes that dealing with that window better. I also heard somebody scream at main. You just didn't go look for him. I'm not sure why you were just like, ah, not that person. Because you had already broken the breakable walls, so there wasn't much for them to use here. Well, good thing is you see where they're going afterwards. This is Anshin. They run straight into you. That's because the Sarah's just not that great of a perk. Nice. You barely hit that, but nice. I think it's so scary when you run something like Zanshin, because you see just how dense the map of your crows is. Like, there's just so much going on. It's not fair. If you want to get in a situation like this where you're trying to like mind game the pallet, you want to take pallet control. Taking pallet control is putting yourself at where the pallet is. That way, when you're in the situation of trying to give them a 50-50, they can't just plop the pallet in your face because you're standing there. You kind of went to the other side and gave her willing control of the pallet, which allowed her to just kind of like play safe and drop it if you got close. So if you're going to do this, make sure you take pallet control, not the Survivor. Hysteria is not a free perk. It is a Nemesis teachable, actually. Nice. Yeah, that gem was just, they doubled up on it, so they had a lot of progress on it already. I didn't even know that was happening. Wow, 2 gens. That's rough. I don't know why she's clicking at you.
Where the hell do you think you're going?
Okay, you choose not to chase that person. You go kick a pallet? Yeah, you kind of just give up on chasing somebody, just go like kick a pallet and kick a gen. It's a puzzling choice. I think you're trying a bit too hard to guard this hook super early, that you're not like actually applying a whole lot of pressure. Yeah, just take this trade then if you're gonna do that. Oh, that's really unlucky. Yeah, Chucky's voice lines are great. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Slice of dice, as long as they're not like horizontally, like right next to you, they're fine.
Slow down.
I was like, besides Rapid, on certain killers, Chucky not being one of them, Dino doesn't have any good perks. Multiple Weapon used to be good, but they just gutted it entirely. Yeah, I feel like a major issue here is like, I know that they did 2 gens fairly quickly, which is probably extremely stressful, but the choice to just do nothing afterwards and not commit to any pressure whatsoever was kind of like, I don't know about that. Because like, especially when your only slowdown that you are running is based off of getting hooks, choosing to not go after hooks is kind of risky. I mean, just look at Pig. If you want to look at perks that aren't helpful, look at Pig. We got surveillance, kind of okay. You have to run like 2 slowdown to get value out of it. You have make your choice, which is only good on certain killers, and then you have Hangman's Trick. Woo! Somebody's hovering for this. Well, they've already kicked out the all the brick walls. It's not as bad. You're also ignoring your scourge hooks. You were in main surrounded by 2 scourge hooks, and you're going for a normal hook instead. So you have 1 slowdown, your only slowdown, and you're also not getting value out of it. Oh. You started that really far back, and you have no idea where that person is. Yeah, that was just a Hail Mary. If you don't know where the person is, especially considering the fact that they were still mean when it came to your cooldown, despite nerfing your dash, just throwing your power willy-nilly is not something you can kind of afford to do as Chucky as much. Well, regardless, they should be looking for it. Especially, almost doubly so if it's your only slowdown. You really need to be looking out for your scourge hooks. Honestly, I don't think there's a way outside of them messing up that you get this. They had an extremely good head start. And you just kind of like, I don't know, it's just like, it's their game to throw. I don't see you turning this around. This might be it. I know you're worried about flashbangs, but be careful you're not like... Okay, so this is the part, once again. Right. If you're gonna run a perk, you should be generally trying to get value out of it. Don't throw for value. But you just, like, aren't hooking people on scourge hooks. And it's just like, it makes me question why you even brought it in the first place. Because even if somebody has their first hook from Gift of Pain, it still applies Mangled and Hemorrhage every time you hook them. The red bar slowdown is only the first unique hook. But every other time after that, it still applies Mangled and Hemorrhage. So you're just like passing on all this pressure for like no reason. I was saying earlier, this is their game to throw. They're starting to throw it. Breathe through that. Unfortunately, it's Eerie Crow, so there's just like a bajillion pallets everywhere. I think you gave up a lot of pressure there. Because you had Kate injured and over here. And you just kind of like chose to chase Claudette and you didn't get the injury. Even if you had run this way and given Claudette the unhook and the pickup on Fung, you at least would have had Kate down.
Come here, you dumb shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't do this. I understand the flashbangs are kind of weird right now, but you could, yeah. By looking up, you're gonna end up in a situation where you're not looking for where you're going, and it's gonna bite you in the butt. Hey, Sleepy. It's going okay. Hope you're doing well. I've noticed when you're in situations where you don't know what to do, you just kind of like proxy camp. And whether it be the slug or the hook, and I just like... Proxying is not a bad strat. It's mostly used when like you're under the impression that multiple people are around. But if you're not sure, like, I don't know, you're just kind of like waiting for somebody to show up. Like, you may have called out that Claudette there, but there's also like the other two are probably on a gen somewhere, like winning the game. So I don't know why you're just kind of like hanging out. Yeah, while scampering is definitely far more important with modern Chucky than it used to be. I do think they're putting a little bit too much emphasis on it. You're not even running like running shoes, which will make that even better. So. Nice. How do you mess that up in 2024 or 2025 now? Faster than IDO? Faster than what?
Who's coming for you?
You mean before he slices and dices? No. Yeah, hidey ho mode is just like a pseudo stealth thing that he gets. Yeah, you kind of just throw your slice and dice just really willy-nilly. Just kind of, I don't know, man. Like, I get that you're like, oh, well, I'll get there quicker, but also, now you just don't have your power. I would be a little bit more conservative about your slice and dice use. Just the cooldown still being long makes it, like, far more punishing to just be thrown out like you are. Realistically, you should be focusing on the Kates. The Kates are the ones you have the most hook progress on. I would help you the most here. Eerie Amulet. I've been told Eerie Amulet is nice, but it's like something you gotta be like, you really gotta like practice with. It's not something you can just like slap on and call it a day. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I understand they're like going for like sabos and saves, but like by getting hyper paranoid of every pickup and trying to like swing and hit them while they're trying to blind you, you're just giving Claudette time to go sabo that hook. Like, I get that they're doing this playstyle to try and like, you know, play super aggressively, so to speak, but you're playing into their hand by being turbo paranoid and just giving them all these chances. Like by proxy camping a hook, proxy camping a slug, it's allowing them to go elsewhere and get objectives done. Like, you're wasting a tremendous lot of time. Thankfully they messed that up. Claudette should have been paying attention. That is she. Her toolbox is out. And she doesn't have Sabo. Saboteur of the perk. But you gotta stop, like... What are you doing? Are you pretend kicking the gen? You can't let their paranoia, like... Let the paranoia of them get to you like that. Yeah. It's like you did all that and they got the unhook anyway. You did all that baiting and it just like didn't even amount to anything. I can still see this match going in your favor because they're playing super aggressively, which is kind of a lofty thing to do. It's very easy. It's like a juggling act. Like you fumble a tiny bit and then suddenly everything's gone. Unfortunately, that ad is going to hit chat. Apologies. Just all misuses. Yeah. By the way, I just want to point this out. I've mentioned this before in this match review, but I'm going to say it again because it's a little bit more relevant here. You've been doing this strat a lot of like, I'm going to stand in place and hide behind something and use hidey ho mode. The undetectable hidey ho mode is kind of like a pseudo stealth in the same way that like Xeno's undetectable in the tunnels is pseudo stealth, because there's something that rats you out, and that being the fact that Chucky giggles and chuckles to himself while he's undetectable. So if they're paying attention and they have their headphones up, they can hear you. They can hear you going there, sitting there going. So like you're not as sneaky as you think you are in that moment. Like it is something that will catch up like not so great survivors, but like survivors that are paying attention, it will not work on. Pays attention though, I'm finding a lot of people do. And maybe only paying attention to length or M1 real good, but they're paying attention. Paying attention. They're probably going to ride back to that gen. Once again, you go for these like really ambitious, just kind of like I'll throw it and see if it hits slice and dices. Well, that's good for experimentation. It's not good for consistency, especially since you're putting an already like over nerfed power on cooldown near constantly. If you move a lot and bring stuff to extend hidey ho, no. There is a bug / exploit that turns off the chuckles, but moving a lot or extending hidey ho does not hide his chuckles. Nothing does that. I don't even know if they can hear me because it's ad time, but yeah, nothing outside of like a bug / exploit removes his chuckles. So it's not like extending hidey ho or moving a lot somehow does that. If anything, it's something that's a survivor tool. Like the more you move, they can listen to you and try to track you through that. Levi Ghost Anonymous did a wonderful showcase of that on a stream one time, where he showed that like somebody on the other side of Shaq playing Chucky and like giggling while undetectable, like there was nothing that they could do to catch up to Levi. Because Levi was just listening to the chuckles through the wall. They screwed that up really bad. They screwed that up really badly. I don't know how they did that. All Fung had to do was just like stick on that Kate like glue. She screwed it up. Don't get too greedy. Yeah, don't get too greedy. You're not getting a 4K out of this. Yeah.
Get the fuck over here.
They'll probably get clawed out. Oh my gosh, just bum rushing the hook. Oh god. What is this? What is this play? See? Like, look at it. Look at that. Case in point to the max. You just readied up your hidey ho, threw that slice and dice. You had no idea where you were going or what you were doing with it. And as a result, she made it to the hook and unhooked for free. And now your power's on cooldown and now you're in a really, really bad situation because you just kind of threw your power out there with like no goal. You were just like, okay, I'm just going to go like for a power that's not as amazing as current slice and dice in 2025 is, you can't just be throwing it out like willy. That is like probably going to be the #1 thing that puts you in such a bad situation. Like if you had slice and dice earlier, you just have her down already. But now she makes it out. Like you have slice and dice ready when you get up to the hook like that. You just fly at her and beat her. But now she just gets out for free. But you could have used your power. This should have been a 2K. He's probably just siding to run out that gate. Oh, she made this one. Nothing in the way of like extreme like toolboxes or gen perks. There's shoulder to burn, which could be kind of rough. Only one flashbang, which is interesting. All right, so in terms of your main takeaways, there's, thankfully, from your perspective, there's a lot to learn from this. There's a lot of match reviews where I feel like I'm kind of like, just like, oh, well, it wasn't really your fault, but here's a couple things you can do. But like this is one you can learn a lot from. I think your first and foremost takeaway, the one that was hurting you the most, is you were just kind of like throwing slice and dice like willy-nilly. I think for a ability like slice and dice that already got nerfed pretty heavily and still retains a fairly intense cooldown, I don't think you can be throwing it out like that. And I think you found that out the hard way at the very end there when you kind of just like threw it out while you're at or by Shaq near that open exit gate. That if you had had that chasing Fung back down to the hook, you could have hit Fung at the hook, then she couldn't body block, and then you could have just chased down Kate, slice and dice, down her, easy 2k, maybe more. But for whatever reason, you just kind of like threw slice and dice just cuz. And there were tons and tons and tons of instances in this match where you're just going for something super ambitious or going for a slice and dice aimed at a survivor that you just kind of vaguely knew was on that side of the map, but didn't know if they were even that tile, and you just like slice and diced at them. And then you would come around the corner and hit thin air because there was nothing there. And then once again, you enter the long cooldown. Now you're back at square one. I don't know why you were doing that, but it is definitely a severe issue that I would put on high priority to fix, because that was hurting you pretty badly. Yeah, wow. That was probably your main issue that was hurting you a lot. Your second main takeaway is you spend a lot of time in this game proxy camping, which is like not a bad thing. And sometimes in match reviews, I actually recommend. I'm like, hey, you should probably have proxied there. But like you kind of do this very like preemptive proxy camping without any real reason to do so. Proxy camping is effective when you're under the impression that like multiple survivors are around, so you're like intercepting them, right? Like if, for example, the survivors have been unhooking fairly quickly after you have hooked them, you know, your brain's like, okay, well, somebody's probably going to dive bomb this hook, so I'm gonna stick around. Or you catch the person coming for the unhook running towards you, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna hang out here then, so I can intercept you. That's what proxy camping is good for. But I've noticed a lot in this match, you were just kind of like preemptively proxy camping, whether it be the hook or a slug. You were just like preemptively like, okay, well, I'm just gonna hang out here, not check the gen, and you know, kind of goalie. Or messages going through? No, that's the first message I've seen yours in a while. You were like trying to play goalie very preemptively, and it didn't really do you any favors. So try to save proxy camping for situations where you anticipate there are multiple people around. Because like while multiple people did end up coming to that hook later on, there was a lot of time you were just kind of like wiggling back and forth, like doing nothing, and match time is gen time. Good thing, by the way, is if you're ever concerned if your messages are going through, I have the Twitch chat bot, so like, or chat widget, so like, if you're ever concerned your messages aren't going through, if they're not appearing up there, I'm not seeing them. So just a fun way to know that ahead of time in the future. But there. Yeah, preemptively proxy camping, if nobody's showing up, is like, that's an easy way to lose a lot of time, and match time is gen time. So I would not advise doing that in the future. Also, the third thing, which this is also Chucky specific, is Chucky, when in hidey ho mode, does have a chuckle that's kind of a tell on where you are and what you're doing. You seem to either not be aware of this or think it's not as bad as you think it is, because there are a lot of times you're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go over here and I'm just gonna like stealth, and they're just not gonna know where I am or what I'm doing. It's like, well, they can hear you giggling over there, which is why they sometimes fell for it, and a lot of the other times they didn't. Is because as long as they're paying attention, they can hear you going they can hear you doing that. So as long as their headphones turned up, they don't have a YouTube on the background, their Swift isn't talking too loudly, they can hear you over there. So I would try to not rely on that as much as you were, because I already saw that there was a lot of instances in this match where they probably heard you, and that's the reason that you just kind of like baiting them out didn't really work. Trust me, I understand. I play the Xenomorph, which I have giant flame turrets that work for 41 meters and tell them where I am, even though I'm supposed to be undetectable. I totally get it. It sucks. But we work with what we can change and not what we can't. Aoki, I am also dead. I am also... Ugh. Ugh. Yeah, that would be my 3.